Did well under both of them. Look, you could look at this and say those 3 league wins since that bad defeat to Liverpool have been Bournemouth, West Brom and now Brighton. But it doesn't matter who the opposition is. Arsenal needed to start picking up these results just to settle things.
Yeah, it was fever pitch, wasn't it, after the Liverpool game? That was a trouncing. So yeah, I think Arsene Wenger probably looked at the fixtures after that and thought we could do with some some teams that we've got to have a good chance of beating. And as I said earlier, they do tend to beat the lesser teams in the league. They always have done, and it's just having that quality. And again, we mentioned before the game, when you look at the team, even though it was a comfortable enough performance today, there isn't the quality there that you would go and put them up against the Cities, the Manchester Uniteds, the Chelseas, Liverpools of this world at the moment. You know, Alexis Sanchez, man of the match today, he's the only person that really jumps off that page when you look at the team.
Do you see them back in the top 4 end of this season?
No, I don't. I just don't think they're good enough at the moment. I think they're, you know, 5th, 6th, 7th. It'll be 7th. One of those 3 places. Yeah. I mean, at the start of the season, I probably expected Everton to do a bit better. So you would say that there's a big 7 maybe, but you'd probably say that Arsenal 5th or 6th best at the minute.
OK, well, today was all about getting the job done. And the way Arsenal came out of the traps and the way that Brighton started the game, it was clear that there was going to be a lot of defending for the early part of this match for Brighton.
Yeah, and this is the first goal. Obviously, Lacazette does so well to keep the ball in. The way he adjusted, you know, those neck muscles and kept the ball in, and then Brighton were, you know, throwing themselves in front of the ball, challenges. But you see there, he does ever so well just to guide it back into the danger area. Good block there from Dunk. And then Monreal, his weaker right foot, you know, body's in front of him, fires it through the legs, and you know, it was a good start for Arsenal.
They still needed the second one though, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and the longer the game went on, we were thinking it was going to open up a bit, but Arsenal scored pretty early in the second half, and it's quite comfortable possession at the minute. You see, there's only one man up front for Brighton, but as soon as Ramsey makes his move forward, it starts creating a bit of indecision. Now I'm looking at Izquierda at the side there and just thinking, Iwobi, once Bond gets drawn to the ball, Iwobi runs in front of his face really. I'm just thinking it's the lesser of the 2 evils if he just almost comes inside a bit, let the ball go out to Bellerin. Listen, you're picking at, or clutching at straws here because it was such a good goal, well-worked goal, and how can you do anything about the skill of Sanchez sometimes. It was a brilliant back heel, and that was the icing on the cake.
If you're watching that, he didn't look. He knew Iwobi was there. Yeah. You know, he'd probably seen that 3 or 4 seconds before. Exactly. That Iwobi's in that position. That's a sign of a great player. The back heel was brilliant.
Since the start of last season, Alexis Sanchez has been involved in 35 goals for Arsenal, either scoring them or having an assist. That's a great stat. What is not a great stat is that it's more than double any other Arsenal player. I mean, you look, like you've just said, you look at this team now, they can't afford to lose him at the end of this season.
He jumps off the page, doesn't he? He jumps into any Premier League team, and when you look at some of the teams we got them in, they're brilliant, yet he'd walk into any team. He is that good, and it's, well, I mean, I'd be astonished if you see him in an Arsenal shirt next season. And why, in many ways, why would you want to be that quality of player and not be playing regularly in the Champions League and challenging for the league title? So you can understand it in a way, but it's going to leave such a huge hole for Arsenal and Arsene Wenger to fill, and it doesn't bear thinking about at the moment.
How does it play itself out, do you think, Robbie? Because if you read the papers today, they are telling us that AC Milan are preparing, steel yourselves for this, a £75 million bid in January for a player who's out of contract at the end of the season. But what the press are saying is that this is their way of just stealing a jump on everyone else, making a can't say no offer to Arsenal and getting a player who everybody will be interested in.
Well, it's a perfect situation for Alexis Sanchez, isn't it? He knows every time he goes onto that pitch in an Arsenal shirt, he's in the shop window. You know, I'm sure there's every team around the world will want Alexis Sanchez on a free transfer. Whether he goes in January is another thing, but you know, he keeps performing, he keeps playing well. You know, that back heel's world class. Yeah. You know, and the thing is, he works exceptionally hard for his side. So, you know, whether it's in January or if it's a free transfer end of the season, you know, he wants to win trophies. I know Arsenal won 2 FA Cups, you know, in recent years, but you know, Premier Leagues, Champions Leagues, and I think Arsenal are a million miles away from that.
If he's in football, if he's interested in securing himself for the rest of his life financially, he'll leave. If he's interested in winning medals, then he'll leave. There's no way possible that he can stay, in my eyes.
Let's talk about Lacazette for a second. He's now made 8 appearances for Arsenal. He has yet to play for 90 minutes for them. He just keeps getting hooked by Arsene Wenger. Why is that?
Well, Giroud's in the squad for one, and you probably, think that you've got to give him some game time because he is a top quality player. But from a centre forwards point of view, I think you rely on confidence more than anyone else on the pitch. You need to be in a confident mood to show your best. And if you kept getting dragged off, and because the thing is, on an hour mark, I've been in the position before where I've thought, I could be getting brought off. You start looking at the bench, you start thinking, is he going to send the strikers out to warm up? And then you see them, and you're counting down, you're looking at the clock thinking, another 5 minutes and I'm off. He's scored a few goals already. He's got a proven record. I think he should, if anything, bring Giroud on alongside him, but certainly give him loads of confidence. Yes, he's scored. Yes, he's broke his duck, but if you want someone that's going to be as good as the Ian Wrights, the Thierry Henrys, the Van Persies, all these great strikers over the years, then you've really got to feed that confidence and make him feel at home here.
And also give your team confidence because he is a goal scorer.
He certainly is. That's the first game he's failed to score in the Premier League here. The fourth game here, he scored in the previous three. But what he does, as Michael says, as a player, you don't want to be looking around to the bench 65 minutes thinking, I'm going to be coming off again. You look at Okazaki at Leicester. I'm not comparing Lacazette with Okazaki because Okazaki does a fantastic job at Leicester. But as soon as that ball goes up and you're watching Leicester,
you might as well start
jogging. It's Okazaki.
Yeah.
He does want to get tagged with 65 minutes. I'm coming off.
Everyone else in other positions, they can have steady games. If you're a right back or if you, they're bothered. No one's that bothered really. You go home talking about your creative players. Did Sanchez play well? Did Lacazette play well? Everyone else can just have a 7 out. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. But you need your main players that are difference makers to be confident, and I just think he's probably got to give him his head for a little bit more.
What he's saying is, Robbie, life is so much harder for strikers than anybody else on the pitch. Right, we're going to take a short break. Well, that was the issue today. They didn't get many opportunities, and as Chris Hughton said, when they did, they just needed to take those chances.
Yeah, they did. We see, a fantastic free kick, from Solly March. This was leading up to. This was probably the first occasion where they had willing runners, trying to get on the counter attack, and there it's a great, well worked set piece. That was obviously the training ground. And you can hear it smash against the post. The way they created space from that set piece was brilliant. And I've got to say that the introduction of Glenn Murray gave me a little bit of a spark. And I was just talking to Michael here about what a great run from the centre forward that is. Get across his man, so unlucky not to score there.
It is. I mean, I love to see that with centre forwards. You see a lot of people just standing still, and sometimes someone will miss the ball at the front post. I'm thinking about Lukaku in midweek, for example, standing there at the back post, jumps above his lad, heads it in. 2 minutes later, someone else misses the ball, taps in, but no movement, and he'll get lauded for that. But in general, if you're a centre forward, you're going to score lots of goals. You have to have a bit of creativity, and that was a great little run to the net.
They are well drilled at the back. It will come down to finding a way to score goals against teams.
Yeah,
won't it?
Yeah. But when you come up, I think sometimes you've got to accept that there's going to be better teams. So they've come here and they've accepted Arsenal are better. So what can we do? Do you go play fire with fire and you get stuffed normally, or do you play defensive? And the majority of Premier League teams that come up from the Championship think to themselves, right, we've just got to keep it tight and try to nick a goal. So it's very difficult. A lot of them will always score hardly any goals, but might stay up that way. And I think that's Brighton's way, and they'll just have to rely on being a little bit more expansive at home when they play against teams around them.
When Birmingham got promoted, I joined them in the first season in the Premier League, and what Steve Bruce said, 2 banks of 4, be set, be solid, be hard to beat. But then we had that creative flair with Christophe Dugarry. Looking at Brighton side tonight, there wasn't a Christophe Dugarry who's going to create that moment of magic. At times you have to carry a player like that. The other 9 on the pitch, outfield players have to carry that one superstar. And at Birmingham, we've done so well. But, Knockout was on the bench today. He's that spark. But you're looking in the final third for Brighton today, it didn't have that much creativity.
There aren't many Christophe Dugarrys in the world, that's the problem.
No, but Birmingham attracted him, and Birmingham just got promoted. Yeah. So.
You spoke there about Steve Bruce saying he wanted 2 banks of 4, solid defending, exactly what Brighton did today. I mean, you look at Duncan Duffy, I mean, they're going to be 2 tired players by the end of this season, aren't they? They work so hard.
Yeah, the way they just, get their bodies in the right position, they're willing to throw their bodies on the line, getting blocks in. And this is what Brighton are going to have to do all season, especially away from home. You can see the cover, he's there, he's wrong side for a split second, but he's got the willingness to defend, aggressive in their defending. I thought those two did well today.
Yeah, They did, and they're a type of defender that, you know, that will suit this team really, throwing their bodies on the line and whatever. My only negative would be that, you know, they've got two full-backs that come in and virtually hold their hands. They've got two wide players that come in and play as full-backs. Half the time we were watching the game, we were saying it's 6-3-1 this formation. So send one of those players to an attack-minded team, say Manchester City of the last few years, Liverpool of the last few years. You then have to start marking one-on-one and getting taken into channels. At the minute, they just have to defend the edge of the box. But they're very good at it, good in the air, they're brave, they'll throw themselves in. But it's a very different way of defending to some of the top sides.
Stay up?
I think the home form is going to be so crucial. Already 2 wins there, you know, and they're going to have to beat the likes of West Brom, Newcastle, which they've already done at the Amex. So I think it's going to be tight, Jake, but I think they will just, yeah.
OK, right. Let's get the thoughts of Arsene Wenger on his 21st anniversary win.
Arsenal, a very positive and successful week. 3 games, 3 wins. What did you make of the performance?
Well, I believe that we got a clean sheet, we got the 3 points, and offensively we were a bit in and out. I think the fluency sometimes was there, sometimes not. We eased maybe sometimes off a little bit too quickly and felt just, okay, we will win this, but that's a little bit the negatives of the day.
You're looking for a quick start, and you did, and that opened the game up, that Monreal goal.
Of course, but they never came really out, and maybe we didn't play at a high enough pace to score more goals, and they defended well as well. They intercepted many dangerous balls around the box. In the end, you know, we knew that for us was a very testing week. We had 2 home games and 1 long away trip in the Europa League. So overall, we won the 3 games, and that's very positive.
So that Iwobi goal finally put everybody at ease. Lovely little moment from Sanchez, that beautiful back heel. But is Iwobi going to be an important player for you?
That's what you want of him, you know. He can be, he's a midfielder who is creative, and therefore what you want from him is goals. A player in his position must score 10 goals per season and assists. And because he, in the rest of the game, he contributes very well in the build-up. And overall, I'm happy that he gets goals.
You've closed the gap now on the top clubs. You're level with points on Chelsea. There's been a big turnaround since that Liverpool defeat, the Stoke result. You said it's a very different team. Why is that?
Well, overall, I believe we played the game at Liverpool under very special circumstances. And, you know, after people go always to definite conclusions, even on a bad day, where what we acknowledged, nothing is permanent in life. We have always room to improve, and that's what we did. And I believe as well in any season you have moments where it's difficult, and the quality of a season is decided by how well the team responds, united or not, motivated or not, and that's what we did.
What was the special circumstances you're referring to?
It was a transfer window. Some players had half a head out and half of a head.
I think he wishes it was because he was the king for a few years, and then everyone's caught up, and Pratt certainly gone past now.
So he's finding it more difficult, you think, season on season?
Well, I'd say so. I think there's probably been a slow decline since those glory days, you know, 10, 15 seasons ago. Been a slow decline, and that's shown in results because it was always them fighting for the championship,
yeah.
And then it was always getting in the Champions League but not winning the championship for 10 years, and now, you know, out of the Champions League and fighting to get back in. So it's, you know, they've probably lost a place or two, you know, every couple of seasons since those heady days.
He's set a new record today. He's played 45 different oppositions. He's had 45 different opposing teams in his time in the Premier League. He's beaten every single one of them. 45 different teams he's beaten. Sir Alex Ferguson managed 44. Do we give him enough credit for what he's done in English football, or is it only natural that we just move on and we look to the future and we just want success now?
He has been unbelievable, and I think people do give him enough credit, and probably that credit may have kept him in a job for longer than possibly should have. You know, because a lot of people saying when they won the FA Cup, maybe he should have gone. So I think people, when they talk about Arsene Wenger in glowing terms, and he was absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
I think
the
one of the
brave,
best managers
they'll throw
I've seen.
themselves in.
Because
But
he
it's
won
a
the
very
Premier League, and that team I played against, and Michael played against, was the best. You know, the invincible team, when he had Petit, Vieira,
into some of the top
you know, all
sides.
these players in the side. The credit he's built up from those years, I believe, today, because this Arsenal side now, I believe, are miles away from winning the Premier League. Yeah. But all I can say is that when they lost Liverpool, he was sitting on the touchline with Steve Bolt, and he looked, you know, he had his hands in his head. But the reaction since then, the Chelsea game away, that was the big one. And they've won since that Liverpool game. They've won 6 and drew 1. And drew at Chelsea. And I think fair play to him.
When he talks about the transfer window, the difficult times that Arsenal had, he seems maybe slightly less comfortable in the modern game than maybe he did 20 years ago, doesn't he?
Well, the game that he was talking about, referring to, was the Liverpool away game, and I was sat right next to him, literally 5 yards away from him throughout the whole game, and he never said one thing to the players. He never got up on the side of the pitch and shouted or anything. Within seconds, you could see that the formation Rob Holding was getting killed down on the left-hand side by Mane. He changed it at half-time, but you could see it happening after 5-10 minutes, and you were thinking, surely. And I was looking at him really closely, and I was thinking, he's going to change, and he didn't say anything. And then all the changes that I thought Ramsey was playing way too far up. You know, he was just leaving Xhaka on his own in the middle. He changed all the things that you're thinking, he's got to change this. But at half-time, I was thinking you could see that after 10 minutes. So he still got it. He still understands it. He's still obviously a genius of a manager. But I was just a little bit perturbed by the way he didn't change it earlier. And in that game, Alexis Sanchez had the worst attitude. I mean, he just kept looking at the bench as if to say, what am I doing here? He kept rolling his eyes type of thing. It was almost like he wanted to get brought off, and then he got brought off, and he just sat there with his head in his hands for the remainder of the 20 minutes. And I just thought at that point, this is crumbling in front of him. To give him his credit, it might have been that. It might have been that it was an international break and everything else, but it certainly felt like a bad atmosphere at the time.
The challenges of modern management. What did Wenger say? He needs humility, and he's certainly got that. Thank you very much for your company.